I'm Robin McLaren,
And I'm Daryl.
and we are the founders of XtraO Marriage.
It is our mission to lower the divorce rate one extraordinary marriage at a time,
And we believe every marriage can be an extraordinary marriage.
including yours. Their marriage was on the rocks. They were more like roommates than friends and lovers. The criticism had increased. They were frustrated and found themselves frustrating each other. Hellos and goodbyes had come and gone. There was little positive interaction, and intimacy was a memory of the good old days. Their marriage was marked by a lack of trust. In fact, you could hear them say, if it weren't for the kids, and you could probably fill in the rest of these all too often spoken words. In fact, they may be words that you have spoken yourself at one time or another. Or maybe today you just kind of could see yourself in that story where your marriage is full of frustration and criticism, and or maybe you everything's good but not great. My guess is that even if you don't see yourself in this story, it is such a common story in America today, with 50% of our marriages ending in divorce, and 70% of second marriages and 80% of third marriages ending in divorce. This story is all too common, and maybe it's not your story, but my guess is you probably know somebody that could relate to this story. And our question that comes out of this is there hope? Is there hope for a marriage that is marked by infidelity? Is there hope for a relationship that is marked by a lack of trust? Is there a hope for a relationship that has drifted to roommate status and all the love and intimacy is gone? Is there hope for a relationship that is just void of all joy? The question that we're asking today is there hope?
Most definitely. Absolutely, there's always hope. In fact, we believe that every marriage, every relationship can be an extraordinary relationship. But we're not just talking about hanging on by a thread or barely making it or enduring a horrible relationship.
Right.
We mean that every relationship can be extraordinary.
Right. I think relationships are a lot like kayaking. We love to kayak.
Yeah.
A beautiful day on a river or a lake you're out, it's peaceful, everything's wonderful. But I think relationships today are a lot like kayaking without paddles. And so if you kind of get the picture, we put our kayaks in, the sun's shining, it's just a gorgeous day. We're smiling, we're happy. It's kind of like the wedding day, it's like the beginning of the relationship. Everything's wonderful. You put the kayaks in, there's a slight breeze, and we're laughing, having fun. But gradually, there's ripples on the water, and we start to drift. And just left alone, if you're kayaking on a river, just left alone, what's going to happen?
You drift apart.
You drift apart, and you just keep drifting to wherever the water takes you.
Right.
And I think that that's a lot like relationships today. Is kayaking without a paddle. The water's going to pick up, the breeze, pretty soon you find yourself in a current. And that current is just taking you along. You're out of control.
Oh.
You're not in control of where that kayak is going. You're out of control. And you're in the rapids now, and there's rocks coming, and pretty soon, kayaking without a paddle, left to itself, you're going to end up on those rocks. And it's going to be a bad day.
Mm-hmm.
Relationships are much like that, where just in our society today, left without any effort, left without doing anything, without the right tools and without a little effort, they're just going to drift along. They get married thinking everything's great.
Mm-hmm.
Get married thinking, oh man, isn't this wonderful? It's a sunny day and it's beautiful and we're happy in love. But there's no effort put into that relationship. It's going to drift. They're going to drift apart, and they're going to drift into wherever the current of society and the patterns of this world take us. It'll be the voice in the ear over here, the the advertisement over here, the selfishness over here, all those things would just kind of cause us to drift along. And pretty soon, that relationship is on the rocks. And I think we see it over and over and over again.
Right.
So how's there hope for that relationship? Kayaking without a paddle doesn't work.
You have to have a paddle.
Right.
So you have to have a paddle, and you have to be willing to put in a little bit of effort.
Right.
Doesn't even really take a lot of effort sometimes. It's just a little bit of effort. But something that we call the XtraO factor.
Okay.
And it is one word, and that word is intentionality.
Right.
So without being intentional, you'll naturally drift, just like on the river. But with intentionality, you're intentionally putting your paddle in the water. You're applying effort. You're paddling away from the rocks and back toward one another.
So isn't it ironic that to have a great experience on a lake or a river, it takes effort.
Yeah.
It takes work.
Yeah.
We try to get out of work. We try to have as little work and effort as possible, and we think less work is more enjoyable.
Yeah.
And yet, the more effort you put in, the more you have a great experience.
The more reward.
The more reward.
Yeah.
So yeah, more effort, more reward. I think the same is true in our relationships. It takes work, and sometimes I think it's like, well, I'm the one serving, I'm the one giving, I'm the one, and I just want to be served. Well, you're going to have this divisive relationship. But if you are putting effort into that relationship and you're working on that relationship, and you can have an incredible, joyous, thriving relationship if you put in the work. So what are some things that when we talk about the XtraO factor, this one factor, the word intentional, how can people be intentional in their relationship? Like intentionally do what? What are some things that people could intentionally do that would move that marriage a different direction?
I think that you have to, it kind of goes back to what we talked about a couple weeks ago of making a decision. You have to decide to be intentional.
Right.
And intentionality requires action. So I can just think about all the wonderful things I could do for you. But if I'm not putting them into practice, if I'm not actually doing that action, it's not really going to make that much difference. It starts with the thought, but the thought has to produce an action to get a result. So I think that I can intentionally love you, and that intentionally decide to love you no matter what. Whether I feel loved at the time, at the moment, I can still decide to intentionally love you.
I think though love is it's a word that we throw around a lot, but we believe love is an action. That you can say I intentionally love you, but there's a look to that. There's something that happens with that. There's action in all of this. So when we talk about even the definition of the word intentional, it's on purpose. It's doing something on purpose.
Right.
So you intentionally left a card on the bathroom counter with a pile of Smarties the other day. It was something you did on purpose. You had to think about that. You had to go buy the card. You knew, and because of our relationship, you know things I like. You knew I liked Smarties. So you went and bought Smarties. Right. And you intentionally left them there knowing that that would do something in me. It was an intentional act. It was on purpose. I think other things like, even the learning side of relationship. If you came home and you found, now it's not so much true in our relationship because you do find this, but if somebody who's listening came home and found their husband reading a book on marriage and relationship and communication, I can just imagine that wife going, where's my husband?
Am I in the right house?
Am I in the right house?
Because I think that's even one of those parts that has just drifted out of, we stop learning. We learn about things on our jobs.
Yeah.
We learn about our hobbies. We'll invest time in books and reading and videos and stuff on things that we want to go do or know how to do.
Yeah.
But
Somehow
it seems like
get
relationships,
left out.
yeah. Why don't we want to know how to do it, that we're willing to go learn? It's effort.
Yeah.
It takes work to read. And I hear people say all the time, well, I'm not a reader. It takes work to read. It takes effort to read because you want the outcomes of what that new knowledge can produce in your relationship.
But now with the technology that we have,
right.
I'm not a reader is not a good reason
Not a
anymore,
good excuse.
because you can listen to books, you can listen to podcasts.
Yeah.
There's so much information out there. You can
Right.
get it in so many different ways that there's going to be a way that you can connect with it.
True. So there's so many things people can do intentionally, and I think that's the XtraO factor. The one thing that will turn the relationship around is not communication. It's intentionality
Right.
in that relationship,
Yeah.
and it's being intentional with these other things like communication and conflict resolution and cherishing and esteeming and all these other elements that help the relationship. But there's got to be a decision that's made that I'm going to be intentional. So I think that the XtraO factor is probably the most critical thing right now in saving relationships, in growing relationships, in strengthening relationships, in moving a relationship from ordinary to extraordinary.
Yeah.
And we just believe that every marriage, every relationship, I know that there's relationships that seem, and by all appearances, seem to be so far gone that there's no hope.
There's always hope.
There's always hope.
Yeah.
So that's the XtraO factor, and we do believe that there is always hope. And we believe that your marriage, wherever it's at, I believe that you could be so far in despair with your relationship that you can't see hope. But I believe there's hope for your relationship. We believe that every relationship, your friend's relationship, maybe your sister, your brother, maybe your parents, we believe that there is hope for your relationship, and that every relationship can be extraordinary. And so we want to encourage you that if you're looking for hope, or you know somebody that's looking for hope, don't give up. Let's find it. How can we help them find it?
You can start with our website, XtraOmarriage.com, XtraO marriage.com. We have a lot of information, a lot of resources on there. There are blog articles that talk about different things. There are workouts, because we're connecting our relationships with fitness.
Right.
Fitness in our relationship, fitness in our lives. So we have what we call workouts on our website, where you can, it's like an exercise that you can choose a topic, choose a category, and that could be something that you're intentional about. You could choose a particular exercise, read an article on a subject that you struggle with, and that would be a great place to start.
Yeah. You can go to our YouTube channel. Go to YouTube, subscribe. There's some videos we're starting every week. There's going to be another video. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram. Get some information. Go to our resource page. Buy a book. If you struggle with communication in your relationship, go to our resource page. Find a book on communication. Whatever it is, if you would just email us or direct message us, ask your questions. We will help you. We will guide you. We'll help you find the right resources. If we don't have them, we have ways of finding the resources for you.
Yeah.
But don't lose hope. Don't lose hope. We're so glad you're here. Thank you for being a part of this journey with us. We so appreciate you. We appreciate the fact that you're sharing our videos, you're sharing our blog posts and the content. You know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody who could really use some of the material we're putting out.
So thank you. Thank you for being a part of this journey with us. We celebrate you. We are so glad you're here, and we're glad you're working on your relationship. We want to encourage you to keep working on it. Have a relationship that leaves a legacy. Your relationship can impact your children. It'll impact those around you. Have a legacy leaving relationship. So we're glad to be a part of this, part of your journey together. Go and make it an XtraO.
Thank you for joining us today.
Check out our website with resources to help grow your relationship at XtraOmarriage.com.
That's XtraO marriage.com. Like our Facebook page and share our content with your friends on social media.
Make a decide and set your intention for an extraordinary marriage. Start today.